Hello and welcome to the Temple of Tomes with your host, Indie Comics Jones. Today is October 18th, 2020, and we're at episode 109. Today we're taking a look at Vampire, the Masquerade, number 3. This is a Vault comic, and the arc is entitled Winter's Teeth for $3.99 here. So I just want to mention before we get into this, I have done the first 2 issues, reviewed them, and I have recommended both, and this will be a recommend as well. I also want to mention that there's actually 2 stories on here. One's The Winter's Teeth, which runs about 20 pages in each issues, and then you have the Anarch Tales, which runs 7 to 8 pages, depending on which issue you receive. Both are separate stories. However, there's always a chance that these 2 stories might come together at some point. I'm finding it less likely now, but at the beginning it seemed like they might. The Winter's Teeth takes place during winter in Minneapolis when your daytime is like 7 or 8 hours, and that's it. The rest of the time is nighttime. So perfect for vampires. And the other group is in Duluth, Minnesota, and they're trying to make their way to Minneapolis, but they've been held up. So that with that, I'm not sure if they'll ever get together on this or if it just happens to be 2 separate stories. But both stories are pretty good. I've been enjoying both of them. I'm not a big vampire fan, but I think they're both been very good stories, very strong. A lot of detail, a lot of emotion, a lot of deep characters. In fact, this one, I love this cover. This is just the regular cover. This is not the variant. And this has been my favorite regular cover of this so far. It shows 3 of the new characters that come into play here. And if you look closely, you can see like stitch marks on them in various spots. And that's because they've been stitched together in a Frankenstein type way to make a more perfect vampire type creature. Now, I've had to look up a number of words in this because I just didn't understand the vampire nomenclature, and sometimes it was give me a good definition. Other times it was a little stretchy, but I just didn't know. I just want to mention the first story that we're working on here is Tim Seeley is the writer. It's drawn by Dev Malvia Pramanik, I guess. And the Anarch Tales is written by Teeny Howard and Blake Howard and drawn by Nathan Gooden. I actually like the artwork in the Anarch Tales a little bit better than the artwork in this, but they're both very good. It's just a preference thing. And what we'll find going through this storyline for the Winter's Teeth right now is Cicely has been trying to track down all these clues. There's been some mysterious killings, and she's not really getting anywhere with it. If you recall, Cicely is kind of like Blade, but she works for the vampire clan. She's kind of an enforcer, and she takes out the renegade vampires or ones that have gone off the plantation, so to speak, and she goes ahead and hunts them down, kills them. I don't know if plantation's the right word. Whatever, but I think you get the idea. She's the one that tracks. She's kind of a tracker. She's kind of a detective. She's kind of the executioner. She does all the dirty work, and in turn, they let her not have to affiliate with any particular vampire clan. She's also got a younger sister who is now appears to be much older than she is, and she's got dementia. She's keeping her alive in this apartment, kind of keeping her safe from everything. But she's still human. She's not been bit, and that's one of the things that's kind of makes this character a little more deeper. She worries about her, and since she has actually looks younger now than her younger sister, she has made her younger sister believe that she is her aunt now. It's a little confusing. So she plays niece, and her younger sister is now her aunt. And that just way keep her a little bit more stable, a little bit more under control because she can't be with her at all times. So there's about, I think there's a group of 3 murderers that they are trying to check out, and these are murderers of other vampires. And so it seems like every clue she comes up with and tracks down, it doesn't go the way that she'd hoped. And these clues kind of end up being a dead end because the person that's associated ends up being dead as well. She's also got a fairly new vampire with her that she's trying to teach the ropes to. Her name's Allie. So there's a lot of good back and forth, learning the ropes, um, teacher, instructor. They're trying to figure out. I mean, I never realized it before. I always thought vampires were pretty cut and dry, but there's all different types of vampires. And we see that in this book. It explains it pretty well. So some are more into magic. Some can subsist during the day. Some can change into other animals or monsters. Just depends on what type of vampire they are. So we have that going on as well. Also, there's a caste system. There's some very low-life ones, vampires that live like in the sewers and whatnot. And then the ones that are more high class get to live in like palaces and nice homes, nice structures. So we've got that going on. They all interact together though, and it seems like a pretty brutal community. Now we've got Minneapolis and St. Paul that takes place in, and there's the Prince Samantha, who's over both the Twin Cities. However, there's a movement to split the fiefdom into two parts, of St. Paul and of Minneapolis, which is another undercurrent subplot going on in this story. So it's really hard for me to go back and start the story all over again and get you caught up. But if you can get these, go back and do. If you like vampires, I'm sure you'll love this. It's to me, it's a much stronger story than like Twilight or something like that. It's just really good. And it's kind of got the detective element to it as well. They're trying to track down what's going on. The Anarch tales, let's skip ahead here. We have Colleen, who's kind of the leader of the group. You can see the artwork, and this is the Winter's Tea. It's pretty nice. The Anarch tales, so I don't want to show you that. That's kind of a spoiler, so get my hand over that. This part 3 in this, the first 2 parts was concentrated more around Colleen, who's a vampire but can walk during the day with just a slight headache. Sunlight will not kill her, and she's also able to consume less human blood than a regular vampire. She can kind of consume the low-grade animal blood as well. Here's one of the shapeshifters we see here. They call him King Rat. And apparently in the Vietnam War, he was a tunnel rat for the U.S. Army, or the Marines, I'm sorry. And one of the tunnels he went into had a vampire in it, and obviously he was bit. So he's a shape-shifting, small African-American man who's more of a sensitive guy. Which is kind of like the theme of a lot of the African-American characters now. But he's a smallish, sensitive guy. Now he's this kind of can turn into this predator that they call King Rat. And the story revolves about him. It's only 8 pages, so not a lot going on. It just talks about his time in Vietnam and how he was trying to become more of a man, and how he's turned into this monster, so to speak. And he says he was never noticed as a man, and he's not noticed now because he's still a smallish in character. And if you've read the stories a little bit more familiar with it, the group of vampires gets ambushed. They get tricked into an ambush and get taken down by a group of humans. And we still don't know why they want to capture them, but they want to deprogram them somehow, or think they can turn them from vampire back into human. Well, King Rat turns out to be the hero in this thing and is able to help turn the tables on these kidnappers. So it's be interesting. They're trying to make their way to Minneapolis. They got turned around. They're heading back. Now they're going to try to make Minneapolis before sunlight hits. And so you can kind of see it's a pretty neat look. I love the drawing in this. Some pretty nice stuff in his Vietnam days. So anyway, it is a recommend if I haven't mentioned it already. really looking forward to these issues, actually. There's only a few comics I do look forward to. This is one of them. Here's the next cover coming up. Looks like a bunch of TV sets with close-ups of fangs, or maybe those are paintings, I'm not sure. But we'll see what happens, and you can read a little bit here. If you want to freeze or pause the camera or the show, you can read about the Winter's Teeth, a little quick synopsis here. I won't bother you with it. So, recommend. Love this cover, by the way. It's got a nice composition. It's got that almost a monochrome type look to it, with some highlights with some of the other colors, the primary colors in there. So really nice job on that cover. Very interesting. If it didn't have the graphics in there, I think it'd be a pretty neat thing to hang on the wall. So enough said about this. I am reading one other Vault comic right now called Engine War. It started off good. I'm not sure if it's going to keep going, but I'm glad to see Vault is trying to put out good comics because we need them. And as always, please subscribe, please like, please comment. I'd love to hear your comments. And I'll see you next time at the Temple of Tomes. I'm really glad you stopped by. As always, this is Indie Comics Jones bidding you adieu.